Hi, this is Michael. I serve as a spokesperson for Nehemiah Reset. In this video, I want to talk to you about the term Babylon in the Bible. This video will be divided into two parts. This video is the first of a two-part video series. The name Babylon echoes throughout Scripture as a symbol of human pride, rebellion against God, and ultimately, divine judgment. From its early mention in Genesis to its prominent role in Revelation, Babylon represents both a physical city and a spiritual system that stands in opposition to God's kingdom. As believers seeking to understand God's redemptive plan and the spiritual realities of our world, we must grasp the significance of Babylon in biblical history and prophecy. The Apostle Peter, writing to first-century Christians, referred to Rome symbolically as Babylon, 1 Peter 5, verse 13, indicating that even in the early church, Babylon was understood as more than just an ancient city. It represented any worldly system opposed to God's purposes. The ESV Study Bible notes, Babylon functions in Scripture as a symbol of worldly power organized in opposition to God. This symbolic dimension makes Babylon particularly relevant for Christians today as we navigate our relationship with the surrounding culture while maintaining our distinct identity as citizens of heaven. In this comprehensive exploration of Babylon, we will examine its geographical and historical significance, its role in biblical history, its prophetic importance, and its ultimate destiny as revealed in Scripture. May this study deepen our understanding of God's sovereignty, strengthen our commitment to His kingdom, and sharpen our discernment regarding the spiritual forces at work in our world. What is the physical city of Babylon? Its location and historical significance. The city of Babylon was located in the ancient region of Mesopotamia, in what is now modern-day Iraq, approximately 55 miles south of present-day Baghdad. It stood on the Euphrates River, which provided water for agriculture and transportation for commerce. The name Babylon derives from the Akkadian Babili, meaning gate of God, though the biblical writers associated it with the Hebrew Baal, meaning to confuse, connecting it to the Tower of Babel narrative, Genesis 11 verse 9. The strategic location of Babylon made it a center of trade and influence in the ancient Near East. Its fertile plains allowed for abundant agriculture, supporting a large population, while its position along major trade routes connected it to distant regions. The city was renowned for its impressive architecture, including the famous Ishtar Gate, the Hanging Gardens, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, and massive ziggurats dedicated to various deities. Babylon rose to prominence under Hammurabi, circa 1792 to 1750 BC, who established it as the capital of his empire and gave the world its first comprehensive law code. However, Babylon's golden age came much later, under Nebuchadnezzar II, 605 to 562 BC, who expanded the city and its influence dramatically. It was during this period that Babylon conquered Jerusalem and exiled the Judean people, an event that profoundly shaped Jewish identity and biblical prophecy. The prophet Jeremiah described Babylon's glory in Lamentations 1 verse 1. How lonely sits the city that was full of people. How like a widow she has become, she who is great among the nations. She who was a princess among the provinces has become a slave. This poetic lament captures both Babylon's former greatness and its eventual downfall, which came as it fell to the Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great in 539 BC. Babylon's biblical significance extends far beyond its geographical location. It became the instrument of God's judgment against Judah for their persistent idolatry and disobedience. The prophet Jeremiah warned Judah's leaders for decades about the coming Babylonian captivity, but they refused to listen. In Jeremiah 25 verses 8 to 11, God declared, "Therefore the Lord of hosts has spoken. Because you have not obeyed my words, behold, I will send for all the tribes of the north, declares the Lord, and for Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon, my servant, and I will bring them against this land and its inhabitants, and against all the surrounding nations. I will devote them to destruction, and make them a horror, a hissing, and an everlasting desolation. The Babylonian exile lasted approximately 70 years, as prophesied by Jeremiah. Jeremiah 29 verse 10. During this period, the Jewish people developed their religious identity in new ways, establishing synagogues and preserving their scriptures despite being far from their homeland. The prophets Daniel and Ezekiel ministered during this exile, providing hope and guidance to God's people in a foreign land. One of the major stories about Babylon in the Bible was about the Tower of Babel. The story of the Tower of Babel, found in Genesis 11 verses 1 to 9, provides the foundational narrative for understanding Babylon's spiritual significance. The ESV recounts, "Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, 'Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly.' And they had brick for stone and bitumen for mortar. Then they said, 'Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens. And let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth.'" This passage reveals humanity's unified rebellion against God's command to fill the earth. Genesis 9 verse 1. Instead of spreading throughout the earth as God intended, the people gathered in one place to build a tower reaching to the heavens, a monument to human achievement and independence from their Creator. Their motivation was explicitly stated, "Let us make a name for ourselves." This represents the essence of human pride, seeking glory for ourselves rather than for God. God's response to this rebellion was swift and decisive, and the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore, its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth. And from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of all the earth. This judgment introduced linguistic diversity and scattered humanity across the globe, effectively thwarting their unified rebellion. The name Babel thus became associated with confusion and divine judgment against human pride. The ESV Study Bible notes, "The tower was likely a ziggurat, a common structure in ancient Mesopotamian cities intended to serve as a stairway between the gods and the earth. By building such a structure, the people were trying to reach the heavens on their own terms rather than approaching God according to His conditions." The Tower of Babel narrative establishes Babylon as the archetype of human rebellion against divine authority. It represents humanity's attempt to achieve salvation and significance through human effort rather than through faith in God's provision. This pattern repeats throughout Scripture, culminating in the final Babylon described in Revelation. The New Testament draws a direct contrast between Babel and Pentecost. At Babel, God confused human languages as judgment. At Pentecost, God enabled the apostles to speak in various languages as a sign of the gospel's universal scope. As the ESV commentary explains, Pentecost reverses Babel. At Babel, unity led to judgment. At Pentecost, diversity leads to blessing as the gospel spreads to all nations. What does the Bible say about Babylon in Old Testament prophecy? The prophet Isaiah contains some of the earliest and most detailed prophecies against Babylon. In Isaiah 13 verses 19 to 22, God declares, "And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the splendor and pomp of the Chaldeans, will be like Sodom and Gomorrah when God overthrew them. It will never be inhabited or lived in for all generations. No Arab will pitch his tent there. No shepherds will make their flocks lie down there. But wild animals will lie down there, and their houses will be full of owls. Then ostriches will dwell there, and wild goats will leap in the houses. Hyenas will cry in their towers, and jackals in the pleasant palaces. Its time is close at hand, and its days will not be prolonged." This prophecy emphasizes Babylon's complete and permanent destruction. a judgment far more severe than that which fell on other nations. The imagery of desolation, with wild animals occupying once glorious palaces, underscores the totality of God's judgment against this symbol of human pride. Isaiah 14 contains a particularly significant passage that moves from Babylon's earthly king to a spiritual power behind him. How you are fallen from heaven, O day star, son of dawn. How you are cut down to the ground, you who laid the nations low. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven above the stars of God. I will make my throne like the highest. But you are brought down to Sheol, to the far reaches of the pit. Isaiah 14 verses 12 to 15. While initially addressed to Babylon's king, this passage reveals the spiritual pride that motivated Babylon's rebellion, the same pride that led to Satan's fall. Jeremiah, who prophesied during the actual Babylonian conquest of Judah, contains some of the most poignant prophecies about Babylon. In Jeremiah 51 verses 37 to 40, God declares, And Babylon shall become a heap of ruins, the haunt of jackals, a horror and a hissing, without inhabitant. They shall roar together like lions. They shall growl like lions whelp. While they are inflamed, I will prepare them a feast and make them drunk, that they may revel and sleep a perpetual sleep and not wake, declares the Lord. Jeremiah 51 presents a comprehensive picture of Babylon's judgment, emphasizing that it comes from the God of Israel as punishment for Babylon's own arrogance and cruelty. The prophecy portrays Babylon as a golden cup that made the nations drunk, but which God will now make Babylon drink from itself. Jeremiah 51 verse 7. This imagery captures the principle of divine retribution. Babylon will experience the same judgment it inflicted on others. So what does Daniel say in his prophetic visions about Babylon? The prophet Daniel, who lived in Babylon during the exile, received several visions that revealed Babylon's place in God's prophetic timeline. In Daniel 2, Nebuchadnezzar's dream of a great statue with a head of gold represents Babylon as the first of 4 successive Gentile empires that would dominate Israel until God's kingdom is established. Daniel tells the king, You are the head of gold, Daniel 2 verse 38, acknowledging Babylon's glory but also its temporary nature. Daniel 5 records the dramatic fall of Babylon as Belshazzar, Nebuchadnezzar's successor, desecrates the temple vessels from Jerusalem. The mysterious writing on the wall, mean, tekel, parsin, is interpreted by Daniel as meaning, God has numbered the days of your kingdom and brought it to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Perez, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Daniel 5 verses 26 to 28. That very night, Babylon fell to the Medo-Persian Empire, fulfilling Daniel's interpretation and demonstrating God's precise control over history. Daniel 7 shifts from earthly empires to spiritual realities, describing 4 beasts that represent successive kingdoms. The 4th beast, which is dreadful and terrifying and has 10 horns, parallels the final Babylon system described in Revelation. Daniel's vision establishes the prophetic framework that Revelation later develops, showing that earthly kingdoms will rise and fall, but God's kingdom will ultimately prevail. What does the Bible say about Babylon in Revelation? Revelation 17 introduces Babylon in symbolic form as a woman sitting on a scarlet beast. Then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, Come, I will show you the judgment of the great prostitute who is seated on many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed sexual immorality, and with the wine of whose sexual immorality the dwellers on earth have become drunk. And he carried me away in the spirit into a wilderness. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. Revelation 17 verses 1 to 3. This striking imagery portrays Babylon as a spiritual prostitute who engages in illicit relationships with earthly kings, representing false religion that compromises with worldly power for influence and wealth. The many waters symbolize the nations, peoples, and multitudes over which Babylon has influence, Revelation 17 verse 15. The scarlet beast with 7 heads and 10 horns represents the political system that supports Babylon, echoing Daniel's vision of the 4th beast. The woman's appearance is described in detail. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and the impurities of her sexual immorality. And on her forehead was written a name of mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes and of earth's abominations. Revelation 17 verses 4-5. Her luxurious attire represents the material prosperity and false allure of this system, while the cup she holds contains spiritual poison rather than life-giving truth. The reasons for Babylon's judgment are enumerated. For all nations have drunk the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality, and the kings of the earth have committed immorality with her, and the merchants of the earth have grown rich from the power of her luxurious living. Revelation 18 verse 3. Babylon's corrupting influence has spread globally through spiritual compromise, political alliances, and economic exploitation. A voice from heaven calls God's people to separate from Babylon. Come out of her, my people, lest you take part in her sins, lest you share in her plagues. For her sins are heaped high as heaven, and God has remembered her iniquities. Revelation 18 verses 4-5. This call to separation echoes God's command to Abraham to leave Ur and Israel's call to leave Egypt, emphasizing the need for God's people to maintain distinct identity and loyalty to Him alone. Babylon's judgment is described in vivid terms. Pay her back as she herself has paid back double for her works. Mix her a double portion for the bowl in which she is mixed. Give her as much torture and grief as the glory and luxury she enjoyed. For she says, I sit as a queen, I am no widow, and mourning I shall never see. Revelation 18 verses 6-7. Babylon's pride and self-sufficiency will be met with proportionate judgment, demonstrating God's perfect justice. The economic dimensions of Babylon's fall are particularly significant, and the merchants of the earth weep and mourn over her, since no one buys their cargo anymore. Cargo of gold, silver, jewels, pearls, fine linen, purple cloth, silk, scarlet cloth, all kinds of scented wood, all kinds of videos of ivory, all kinds of videos of costly wood, bronze, iron, marble, cinnamon, spice, incense, myrrh, frankincense, wine, oil, fine flour, wheat, cattle, sheep, horses, chariots, and slaves, that is, human souls. Revelation 18 verses 12-13. This extensive list reveals Babylon's economic dominance and its commodification of everything, even human beings. The merchant's lament shows how deeply the world's economic system is entangled with Babylon's values. The political rulers also mourned Babylon's fall. The kings of the earth, who committed sexual immorality and lived in luxury with her, will weep and wail over her when they see the smoke of her burning. They will stand far off in fear of her torment and say, Alas, alas, you great city, you mighty city Babylon, for in a single hour your judgment has come. Revelation 18 verses 9-10. Their fear reveals the instability of worldly power when it is separated from God's protection. In stark contrast to the world's mourning, heaven rejoices at Babylon's destruction. Rejoice over her, O heaven, you saints and apostles and prophets, for God has given judgment for you against her. Revelation 18 verse 20. This divine perspective reminds believers that God's judgment against evil is ultimately a cause for celebration, as it vindicates His justice and delivers His people from oppression. Revelation 17 verses 6-7 reveals the depth of Babylon's spiritual corruption. And I saw the woman, drunk with the blood of the saints, the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. When I saw her, I marveled greatly. And the angel said to me, Why do you marvel? I will tell you the mystery of the woman, and of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that carries her. Babylon is not merely a political or economic system, but a spiritual one that has persecuted God's people throughout history. The angel's explanation of the mystery begins with the beast. The beast that you saw was, and is not, and is about to rise from the bottomless pit and go to destruction. And the dwellers on earth whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world will marvel to see the beast, because it was, and is not, and is to come. Revelation 17 verse 8. This description suggests a revival of a previously existing evil system that will astonish the world in the end times. The 7 heads represent both 7 mountains on which the woman is seated and 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen. One is, the other has not yet come. And when he does come, he must remain only a little while. Revelation 17 verses 9 to 10. This cryptic passage has generated much interpretation, but it clearly indicates that Babylon's political support will come from a succession of world powers that oppose God's kingdom. The 10 horns represent 10 kings who have not yet received royal power, but they are to receive authority as kings for 1 hour, together with the beast. These are of one mind, and they hand over their power and authority to the beast. They will make war on the Lamb, and the Lamb will conquer them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and those with him are called and chosen and faithful. Revelation 17 verses 12 to 14. This coalition of rulers will oppose Christ directly, but will be defeated by his superior power and authority. Revelation 17 verses 15 to 18 explains the relationship between the woman and the beast. And the angel said to me, "The waters that you saw, where the prostitute is seated, are peoples and multitudes and nations and languages. And the 10 horns that you saw, they and the beast will hate the prostitute. They will make her desolate and naked and devour her flesh and burn her up with fire. For God has put it into their hearts to carry out his purpose by being of one mind and handing over their royal power to the beast until the words of God are fulfilled. The woman that you saw is the great city that has dominion over the kings of the earth." Remarkably, the political system that supports Babylon will eventually turn against her and destroy her, fulfilling God's sovereign purposes. Revelation 18 provides a dramatic description of Babylon's final destruction and the response to it. A mighty angel announces, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. She has become a dwelling place for demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird, a haunt for every unclean and detestable beast." Revelation 18 verse 2. This language echoes Isaiah's prophecies against ancient Babylon, indicating the complete spiritual and physical desolation that awaits the final Babylon system. The final act of Babylon's destruction is described with dramatic imagery. Then a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and threw it into the sea, saying, "So will Babylon the great city be thrown down with violence, and will be found no more." Revelation 18 verse 21. This decisive act ensures that Babylon's corrupting influence will never rise again. The consequences of Babylon's fall are comprehensive, and the sound of harpists and musicians, of flute players and trumpeters, will be heard and you no more, and a craftsman of any craft will be found and you no more, and the sound of the mill will be heard and you no more, and the light of a lamp will shine and you no more, and the voice of bridegroom and bride will be heard and you no more. Revelation 18 verses 22 to 23. The cessation of all normal human activities indicates the totality of Babylon's destruction and the end of its influence. The reason for this complete judgment is revealed. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth, and all nations were deceived by your sorcery. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints, and of all who have been slain on earth. Revelation 18 verses 23 to 24. Babylon's ultimate crime is its deception of the nations and its persecution of God's people, for which it faces final and complete judgment. This is where we end the first video of the 2-video series. In the second video, we explore Babylon from a spiritual perspective. To watch more videos like this one, you can go to our website at nehemiahreset.org, to our rumble.com or youtube.com channels. We publish new videos weekly. You can also sign up to receive our weekly new video list by going to nehemiahreset.org/email and sign up for our weekly newsletter. To help our channel, please like and subscribe so that more people can see these important videos. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Are you looking for a limitless supply of insightful reads to expand your mind and transform your life? Look no further than Nehemiah Reset's ebook library, where knowledge meets inspiration at nehemiahreset.org ebook. Go there today to discover a wealth of valuable resources to help you on your personal and professional journey to build a biblical worldview. Learn more about the Bible and how culture is impacting your worldview. Again, the ebook library is located at nehemiahreset.org ebook. Hope to see you soon. My name is Andrew. I am one of the spokespersons for Nehemiah Reset. The prior video was sponsored by Nehemiah Reset, a 501c3. Our mission is to assist Christians in developing a biblical worldview as it pertains to relevant cultural and biblical issues. We seek to inform Christ's followers, equip them, and mobilize them in action to vote for their biblical values and actively engage in our We are also committed to help Christians and non-believers to develop a better biblical view. Nehemiah Reset produces videos and ebooks to assist members of the church in developing a biblical worldview when it comes to cultural issues. We produce videos on key topics like public school indoctrination, the woke agenda, sex education, equity and inclusion, climate change, immigration, religious freedom, and much, much more. To learn more about Nehemiah Reset or to watch our latest videos, go to our website at nehemiahreset.org or our rumble.com channel. We produce 2 to 3 videos every week. To get a weekly list of our latest videos, sign up for our weekly newsletter by going to nehemiahreset.org/email and subscribe. You can support our website by liking our videos, subscribing to our channels, or helping us reach more people through tax-exempt donations. Thanks for your help in growing God's kingdom and bringing more people to Christ. Thank you for your support and help. Come back again soon. Have a great day.